Hi everyone, Teddy Baldassarre with TeddyBaldassarre.com. Today we're going to be looking at a new release from Zodiac with their Neon Story collection, looking at the Super Seawolf GMT. So in this video, we'll do an overview of this timepiece. Also, all the watches that we cover here are available on TeddyBaldassarre.com. That's what this channel is really for. If you do have any further questions about this timepiece, definitely check out the link in the description to the product page where you can purchase the watch. Also, you can book a time with one of our watch specialists. So if you have any further questions, they'd be happy to help you out as well. But guys, let's jump into the video, take a closer look at this watch. Now, when we talk about important brands from the middle of the last century, one name that tends to be badly overlooked is the watch company Zodiac. Zodiac is probably best known for the effect it had on the commercial dive watch market shortly after the Second World War, as it debuted their Seawolf in 1953, the same year that Rolex introduced the Submariner and Blancpain released the 50 Fathoms. The appeal of the Seawolf at the time was more moderate in size at 35 millimeters versus the bulkier cases of the 50 Fathoms, as well as other dive watches in that range. Unfortunately, the quartz crisis during the 1960s and 70s crippled Zodiac, so while the brand remained a cult classic to certain collectors, it largely fell behind and out of favor for most of the watch collecting world. In recent years, Zodiac has seen a bit of a resurgence in popularity as the brand has really engaged with their customers and fans from all over the world through their social media channels. Out of this customer engagement campaign, along with the company's new roadmap to grow and expand the brand, was the re-release of the Super Seawolf GMT, which borrows much of its design language from the recent release of the Aerospace GMT. So this has kind of been the modern adaptation of that name and design style. Now today we're going to look at a new cool color variant from the Super Seawolf GMT collection, this one in neon green. Now this colorway release follows the 2020 release of the limited edition sherbet and cream dial variant in bezel, which is bright orange and white. Now the combination of the neon green and stark white together isn't something we normally see, especially in a dive watch, but as you can see by the looks, Zodiac has managed to carefully use bright, bold colors without going crazy, and this execution is done very well. Now this version here is going to be in limited production. We have only an exclusive amount of products available on our store, TeddyBaldassarre.com. We are a full authorized dealer now of Zodiac watches, and these are like many Zodiac watches out there in their own flair, taking these bright, vibrant colors and doing it with a model DNA that really has stand the test of time and is truly in alignment with dive watch lovers. Taking a closer look at this Super Seawolf GMT on the wrist, the case measures at 40 millimeters in diameter with a case thickness of 13.7, aided by that dome sapphire crystal, and the lug-to-lug measurement is 47.7 millimeters, which should allow a good fit on wrists as small as 15.3 centimeters or around 6 inches. Now that is going to certainly be on the smaller end. I would say though this one wears probably closer to that of a 39 millimeter case. There is a slight overhang to the bezel, so when measuring the back of the case, it actually sits on the wrist at 39 millimeters and feels that size when strapped on. It also sits low on the wrist, really feeling closer to that of something around 12.5 millimeters in height and giving the watch nice balance overall. On the case, we find mostly brush finishing on top and the side surfaces. The lugs have a nice high polished beveled edge that gives them a pleasing geometry. Additionally though, the beveling seems to thin the lugs out when looking straight on at the dial. Between the lugs measures a 20 millimeter lug width and sits a 3-link bracelet with a stepped outside brush links and high polished interior links. The bracelet is going to come with pin adjustable links, then is going to meet at a fold over locking clasp with the Zodiac logo on that fold over lock. Also, we're going to see 4 points of micro adjustment, so some on the fly adjustment here if you use a simple strap tool like a spring bar tool. All of the links are very breathable. It's a very solid bracelet. The links here in terms of adjusting them, the pin system would be nice to see maybe some screwed in links, but overall bracelet is very solid. It does kind of drape right down from the lugs. The lugs do extend out a little bit more, but the across diameter of this case is going to, again, wear closer to that 39 millimeters. Lugs might add a little bit more distance than normal, but still, I would say 39.5 millimeters in terms of wear. In general, this is a classic GMT layout. However, setting is slightly different from that of, say, a Rolex GMT Master 2, for example. Both watches feature an hour and minute hand, as well as the sweep second hand and a GMT hand. That considered here, this crown is going to operate a little bit differently. So we'll start with the basics and kind of explain how this is going to work. So the dome Unguarded crown is a screw down variety, which helps provide an aid in that 200 meters of water resistance, and unscrewing into the first position that will allow you to hand wind the watch, which should be done before setting or operating any of the additional features if the watch is at a dead stop. From there, extend the crown to the second position, which changes the date by rotating the crown counterclockwise and independently sets the GMT hand clockwise. And then finally, at the fully extended crown, it's going to hack, so that's going to stop the second hand to set the precise time, and then you can also set your minute and hour hand for that local time. Now, the way the GMT movement works in something like this, as you rotate the hour and the minute hands, they will travel on a typical 12-hour revolution, circulating the dial twice every 24 hours. Then the GMT hand will travel half the speed and the distance, rotating the dial just once in the same 24-hour period, and is guided by that 24-hour register markings on that bezel. Now, the difference here between something like a true GMT and like a Rolex GMT Master 2 and say a Tudor Black Bay GMT is this watch has one additional step when setting the actual GMT hand. Now, how this is going to work, say you're in an environment for wearing something like a Rolex and you want to set that local time. You're on a plane, you're landing, and you want to adjust for that new time zone that you're in. You then at that second position would be able to adjust that local hour without stopping the balance in the process. In this case, because there's no isolated movement of that local hour hand, you would then have to adjust that GMT hand, and to do that, you then would instead go to that second position, adjust the GMT hand to set your home time, and then you would adjust at the farthest position your local time. This adds an additional step and is not as seamless, but for the amount of money that's going to be saved in something like this compared to something that's going to be in-house and have that true GMT function for thousands of dollars more, I don't think necessarily the return is there if you just want to start getting into the world of GMTs. Moving along to the bezel, we have a two-toned white and striking neon green GMT style bezel insert with a 24-hour scale and a triangular lume plot at that 12 o'clock position. Now, the bezel has a hardened mineral crystal covering, which not only protects what's beneath it, but also gives the watch a more luxurious look and also probably more of a vintage look in terms of its approach. The bezel is bidirectional with 24 rotational clicks to set each of those individual time zones. Technically, you can record a third time zone by rotating the bezel as kind of a reference time zone if you did want to just use that as an additional way to see what the time is in, say, the West Coast. Say you're in the East Coast, you could just rotate the bezel 3 times and easily see that at a glance. There is no play in the bezel, and rotating, it does not take a lot of force, but still is secure when put in that position. The smooth polished size of the bezel makes it a little bit more difficult to grab than normal, so rotating the bezel in either direction does take a bit of just getting used to. The neon green and stark white color combination makes its way into the dial, giving this Super Seawolf a playful, summery look and feel. It makes you want to kind of just sit on a beach or on a boat while just enjoying the sun and the water. The color combination also really lends to the watch to some additional strap options, a matching neon green or maybe a white rubber synthetic strap, or just some different NATOs that are a bit more subdued or restrained in terms of their approach could really lend to allowing this dial to pop quite a bit more. Peering into the dome sapphire crystal, we have a clear view of the white dial with a stepped high polish applied hour markers along the outside. The markers are nicely sized. They don't take up a ton of dial real estate, and for the playful casual look of the piece, these are a great choice. To the outside of the hour markers are thin strips of superluminova which sit nearly invisible in well-lit areas, perhaps as an effort to keep the dial as clean as possible. The color used for the superluminova blends in almost completely with the stark white dial, and the only time you will really see it is when it's glowing in low or no light settings. Black lettering is used exclusively throughout the dial. At the 12 o'clock area, the Zodiac logo can be found with Super Seawolf in cursive script below. At 6 o'clock, there is more black cursive script used for the words GMT and automatic. At the 3 o'clock position, we find a step date window with a black border along the outside. The date wheel is white to match the dial, and each date is written in black. At the center of the dial, we have high polished baton style hour hands that are blunted, and minute hands to follow that as well, and a thin sweeping second hand containing superluminova within the tip. Beneath the 3 standard hands, we find the GMT hand in matching neon green paint and a thin superluminova tip. Overall, the lume glows pretty well, particularly on on the hands in the green color that just nearly matches that of the bezel in the GMT hand, so you should have no trouble reading this dial in little to no light. Flipping the Super Seawolf over, you will find a closed screw-down case back protecting the Soprod C125 movement inside. Now the case back is very straightforward, just a bit of information etched into the back along the logo. Here you'll find some water resistance, model number, serial number. Inside though will sit that automatic Soprod C125 movement, which is the quality equivalent to the popular ETA 2893-2. Now this movement has been popping up quite a bit as of late. You'll see it in models from Baltic with the Aquascaf GMT, which I reviewed earlier this year in great detail, so you can check that one out as well. But Soprod is a brand that you're seeing pop up a bit more. They have an interesting backstory in regards to their movement production. In terms of brand equity, they're maybe not as well known as something like an ETA, but there's a reason why these are popping up so much more. The reliability seems to be pretty good based on what I am seeing a lot of anecdotal evidence of, and also my time with experience now these movements a bit more in the last, I would say, 24 months. In addition, the actual ability to get these movements is one of the big upsides as well, given that ETA is a bit more difficult to deal with, and a lot of these GMT movements are a bit more difficult to actually construct for a movement manufacturer, especially if you're going for a Swiss-made movement. This movement is going to operate at 28,800 vibrations per hour or 4 hertz. It does feature hacking and hand winding, so hacking stopping the second hand when you plot that crown to the farthest position, and it has a power reserve of 42 hours, while also having some good performance in the accuracy department. I have found when testing many of these Soprod movements as well as Zodiac movements, these are running typically in the high single digits. I would find is a nice expectation, and I also find in terms of what Soprod is doing to be very good in regards to just out of the box specifications here. All right, so now to unpack when looking at this Zodiac Super Seawolf GMT. Now, if you are familiar with Zodiac from a historical perspective, you know that they have true roots and heritage in the world of making dive watches, and in the history of, say, their aerospace GMT being available at PXs during the Vietnam War, as an example. There is a lot of prestige and appreciation for those in the know around this brand. Since it's been rehauled, I think they have done a fantastic job with creating a lot of the elements and why people love them to begin with, and doing it from a contemporary package. In regards to this neon collection, its greatest benefit is also its greatest downside, which is its color. It's so striking, it's eye-catching. And I think many people will just have a ton of fun with this. When you look at a dial with this type of just color usage, you can't help but just enjoy looking at it and just seeing like, wow, that'd be so cool to just wear that on a summer day with the right type of outfit. But in regards to its actual versatility and who can pull this one off, it is going to probably be a little bit more limited, and the specific person that's going to gravitate towards this one is going to be someone that probably just enjoys having a fun piece of this nature with some catching color. I think it could be worn a bit more with some versatility if you do have just kind of a personality that can embody this type of just fun, eccentric nature, which I know there's plenty of people out there, and you can really own it. But in regards to what Zodiac is doing, you're getting a GMT function, very nice bracelet as well with micro adjustments in the clasp, wearable case as well that's going to work closer to that, again, of like a 39.5mm case, and getting a design DNA that is very owned by Zodiac. This is just a fun watch. Simple as that. There's no other way around it. And it gets some actual utility in that GMT function, 200 meters of water resistance, sapphire crystal, Swiss-made movement, and a nice bracelet. There's a lot of reasons to go this direction if you can pull this color scheme off. All right, guys, well, thank you again so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, as that is a great way to help the channel. But in addition to that, if you are interested in this watch, check out the link in the description, teddybaldassarre.com, full authorized dealer of all the brands that we carry on this channel. This is really where we cover a lot of these watches, give you some just general information about, as you're looking in the direction of these timepieces, some things to consider before you actually pull the trigger. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.